to yet another episode of Ask Miss Judes. I want to thank you all again for your continued support and your response to the posts, and I need to continue to hear from you. Today, I want to talk to you on the butt that was kicked. I know you're wondering, what has that got to do with anything? So I come from a part in West Africa originally that has this proverb that the leg which kicks the butt forgets, but the butt that was kicked does not forget. And you might be wondering, what does that got to do with anything? I want to look at this from the perspective of relationships. And by relationships, I mean familiar relationships like parents to children, husband to wife, wife to husband, and then professional relationships like in work settings. And then because I'm into education, the relationship between students and professors and students. As you all know by now, I have 3 children. They are all adults now, thank God. But when they were much younger, I realized that my daughter, who is the youngest, had this amazing ability for just raising an alarm, and Daddy and I would get there and get angry with her older brothers. And this went on for a while. The boys felt really done in, until we realized that sometimes she exaggerates because she knew that Daddy and I would respond to her outcry without necessarily finding out why. We're grateful that we found out early enough, because even at the time we found out, we realized that one of our sons had already been feeling that we didn't even allow him speak. Once there was a matter that involved their sister, they got queried. In that instance, our son is the butt that was kicked because he was really hurting. We were the legs that kicked the butt because we felt, oh, we're just disciplining him. He should have been taking care of his baby sister. But when we got that resolved, we realized that not only did it improve the air in the house, it also gave everybody a voice. So the children knew that they could honestly air their opinion and not be shut down or blamed irrationally. Now we can transpose that years down the line, that when somebody feels attacked all the time, or even occasionally, there is this resistance like, oh, let me protect myself. No, the leg that's kicking the butt, the parent is doing the correcting or the shouting or the cajoling or the whatever, will not realize the extent to which the recipient of that action is processing these issues. So this is especially important for parents raising younger children. Be sensitive enough, because if we react out of anger or anxiety or frustration, you are literally numbing your children, or you're making some feel, oh, all I need to do to get attention is to raise an alarm, which is not good, because in our culture we expect that the older will look after the younger anyway. That does not mean we cannot hold everybody accountable when they should be held accountable. Now, husband to wife relationship or wife to husband or whichever relationships, my husband and I were fortunate enough early in our marriage to make a decision that we're not going to go to bed with any issue unresolved. And by the grace of God, 26 years plus after marriage, I can say that I am grateful for that decision. Not only have we kept it, we have upheld each other to higher standards. So if my husband says, you said so and so and I really didn't like it, my old self before I was married would say, well, I'm sorry, that's just how I feel. But because my children's happiness and the peace and the stability in my family is a lot more important than my ego, I'm quick to say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it that way. If it came across like that, please. And he is also quick to apologize in return. In that situation, the butt that was kicked would have been the spouse who got disrespected or spoken to in anger. And the leg that kicked the butt would have been the person who did the disrespect or said the thing or whatever. So you realize that to have a safe, comfortable, mutually respectful relationship, I always have to put myself in the frame of mind to say, what is the what do I want my husband to get from this conversation? So a few things I learned early not to do was not to speak when I'm angry. Because if I do, I will probably say something that will be so hurtful that even when I apologize later, the hurt will still be there somewhere. So it's a consciousness that I find has worked for me, and I'm hoping that if there's anyone watching this right now who still feel like, oh, I'm sorry, I just have to say how I feel. When you've said how you feel, what happens to the person who received what you felt? This could be your spouse, it could be your child, it could be your sibling, it could be your parents. It's easy to make up, but it's not easy to take away those feelings. And that is why I'm grateful that this proverb, the leg which kicks the butt forgets, the butt that was kicked does not forget. It plays out so much in life that I'm grateful that that is a philosophy that I work with. In terms of faculty or professor and student relationship, I know that we all hold our students to some really high levels, especially graduate students. I work with a lot of graduate teachers or postgraduate teachers. And you realize that if you're not careful, your expectation can make you want to demand far more than the student is ready for, especially when working with adult students. Because we live in an environmentally charged atmosphere. There are demands from home, there are demands from work, there are demands from school, that if you do not put yourself in the place of the student who is juggling all these responsibilities, you might actually begin to function as if you live in outer space. So because I've been in higher ed since 1996, I know I'm dating myself now because you're going to, oh, she's old. I realized really early on that my students were juggling several factors. And because of that understanding and the respect that I have for my students, I was careful how I spoke to them. If they needed to be pulled up by the collar, we would have that conversation, but always bearing in mind that the end goal is to make you do better. Therefore, I do not talk down to my students, I don't disrespect them, I don't speak to them in a manner that's diminishing in public. One-on-one, we can have the conversation privately to say, listen, you can do better than this. Why? If I run them down, there will be something in their mind that whenever they hear Dr. Orogon, they're like, no way, I don't want to have anything to do with that woman. But I'm grateful that 25 years later, some of my students still reach out to me and tell me what they're doing. They're getting married, they're having children. I am so grateful that I've invested in lives. And I pray that if there are any who are the receiving end of one of those, I had a few students who just refused to do any work. And occasionally I would say, I'm sorry, I can't switch off motherhood from my teacherhood. So sometimes you need to pick some people up. But the overwhelming response is one of respect. And respect begets respect. So if you remember that the leg which kicked the butts forget, but the butt that was kicked does not forget, it will guide you in how you speak to your students or to your professors if you're on the other end. And finally, I want to talk about professional relationships. So there was an institution, a higher institution I worked in for like 12 years, and some of my colleagues came to the conclusion that I didn't have the ability to be angry, and that was not true. When I was angry because of a decision that my husband and I had made 26 years ago, I do not speak when I'm angry, because if I do, I'm probably going to say something that I would regret. And if I come and apologize to you later, you might say, oh, I forgive you. But in your quiet moments, you're going to remember those unpleasant words. That is a classic case of the butt that was kicked not forgetting, whereas the leg which kicked the butt forgets. So I am just encouraging every one of you watching and listening to me that irrespective of the relationships you're navigating, spousal, parent-child, professional, colleagues, supervisors, whatever, student, teacher, faculty, student, whatever the relationship, be mindful, because you could get away with what we classically call in Jamaica foolishness and go away, but the person that you have hurt is going to remember. And 10, 20 years down the road, what do you want to be remembered for? Is it as that person who stepped on everybody because you had to have your way, or this person who nurtured others so that people can develop their own self-confidence and go on to help in nurturing even more when they move on? So as usual, I want to encourage you to like, share, and subscribe, and keep those comments coming. And I trust that as we all become more conscious of this proverb that has become the framework of so many of my relationships, I am trusting that with the help of God and all that we are able to be mindful of, we're not going to allow the pressures of life to get to us so much that we disrespect other human beings. Because believe it or not, I'm a person created in the image of God, and so are you. So if I disrespect you, ultimately I'm disrespecting the God that I claim I believe in, who created you. So people, thank you again for tuning in to Ask Miss Judes. If you have any questions that you want to ask privately, you don't want to post on the channel itself, please send it to askmissjudes@gmail.com. Alternatively, just post your comments in the comment section, like, share, and subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you again real soon. Thanks again for your time, and bye. Have a great day. Essay, it's even longer.